Coming up on week number 13 in the NFL. Hopefully it can be lucky number 13 for us, Eric, because week 12 was not lucky number week 12 for some of the folks who play the dogs like you and I do. It was a 12-4 ATS week for the favorites, and it was the first time that 12 or more favorites have covered since week 12 of 2017. In the Super Bowl era, 13 or more favorites have never covered in a single week. So here we are, generally after a lot of the chalks win, it'll even out. Not necessarily immediately after, but in the coming weeks, you probably think that things will flatten out a little bit. But Eric, you were talking about how it's just been a pretty chalky year overall, right? That's been more than just like a 1 week sample size.
Yeah, well, if you just kind of look at the public bets and favorites, they've covered the best they've ever done, and it's more than double the year. I think that's 2009 that's in second place. So it's just been one of those years, and you kind of have to adjust. I was lucky enough. I got the Bills at 3.5. I had the Falcons at 2.5 last week's, and the Bears. So I came out a little ahead.
And we've been seeing a lot more of those small numbers like you're talking about, right? A lot of under threes this year. A lot of 2s, 1s, 1.5s in spreads, just tight games too. We're going to dive on in today. Bobby Thomas, hope you're doing well. And Sports Facts checking in. Hope everybody's doing well today. Well, Eric will give you a couple round robins at the end. Eric, right now, as we get ready to jump into the NFL, the folks in the world of the college football playoff are going to have probably a crazy day today. They had I'm sure, a difficult night last night talking things out. One thought from you before we hear it all. So right now it looks like in the college football playoff, we basically have 6 teams trying to get into 4 spots. Realistically, I guess 5 if a lot of people are counting out Georgia already. So I guess it comes down to, do you reward the team that's done a little bit more in the regular season and has the better body of work, probably in Florida State, undefeated, or do you reward what will be better games? Right? Because moving forward, Florida State's probably going to be a double-digit underdog against whomever they play, and they probably won't have the best team out there, but they're probably the most deserving.
It's one of those things. In their script they wrote out, they said that it's supposed to be the best teams at that point, and they said they can't change it for injury. Obviously, Florida State is very limited what they can do offensively with no Thomas. I think it should be Texas, Bama, Washington, and Michigan. That's my 2 cents. My 2 cents really doesn't mean anything. Anyway, it just comes out there's going to be somebody that is upset. I think that if Texas didn't beat Alabama, if that game wasn't on their schedule, there would be
easy.
SEC teams on there. But they can't, in my eyes, if you take Texas out, that's going to open up
Alabama.
Yeah, because it's just going to tell these teams,
we don't care that you go early in the year and schedule, right? Exactly what we want to do. Yeah. So this is a tricky one. We'll find all about that later today. This is going to be a football show. This is NFL Betting Blitz presented by Parlay Play. We'll talk a little bit about Parlay Play at the end of the show. Eric will also give you a round robin. We'll give you a couple of props that we like, and we're going to dive into the DRF Sportsbook betting lines. So if you're in the state of Iowa, just remember that you can sign up for a DRF Sportsbook account and use that promo code FAST300. It'll get you all the way up to a $300 deposit match bonus. We might go a little quicker this morning. I'm actually going to the Rams game, the Rams-Browns game, first ever pro football game. So I'm excited. Going to head out with a couple of my buddies in a little bit as we get ready to rock and roll to make some money on this Sunday, week 13. We've got the Cardinals at the Steelers, Eric, and the Steelers bounced back last week after they fired Canada. Offense looked a lot better. They finally go over 400 yards. 8 different receivers catch a pass. Pickett's graded quarterback number 2 on the week. He had 4 big-time throws. Defense did a great job putting pressure on Browning, making life difficult for them. Even when they won the time of possession by almost 15 minutes and everything went right with them, they're still not the type of team that beats the crap out of you, right? That's just not how they are made up. That's not the way this team is. I look at a line like this at -6. To me, this just feels like a spot where it's a little bit too high. You've got an Arizona team with Kyler Murray that can be feisty, that can make some plays. Pittsburgh could be up by 10 here. We could get a backdoor cover late. I got to be on the Arizona side in this one.
Yeah, I did the Arizona. I locked in at 5.5. I didn't expect it to go up. Tomlin is a favorite, 48% against the number. 3.5 or more, he's 44.1% against the number. Murray as a dog, 64.7%. As a road dog, 77.8%. When he's a road dog getting 3.5 or more, he's 81.8% against the number. I always like taking Murray in these spots just because he can extend plays with his legs. The Steelers really struggle defending their wide receiver in the slot. That's Rondell Moore. Moore is Murray's first read since he's come back. I know the Steelers had over 400 yards of offense, but they were playing the Bengals, whose defense isn't that good. They only scored 16 points. Steelers have a Thursday night game against the Patriots. Quick turnaround coming up. Possible locker room issues with the Steelers.
Johnson, right? Deontay Johnson.
Also, there's film now on the Sullivan offense. I'll take the Cards here at the inflated number.
Let's go Falcons at the Jets. Eric, I know you and I both had talked about this game earlier in the week when it was at Atlanta -3. They're a 2.5-point favorite here on the road. Atlanta is currently your division leader in the NFC South. The Jets with Tim Boyle again starting. They were no better with Boyle last week. And this is a problem, Eric, because they had to make a change at quarterback for the locker room just to kind of show some of the guys like, hey, look, we're going to try something for you. But unfortunately, the backup quarterback they had is worse than the guy they were starting. Yeah. Like, he's not even better. And so you make a change just to make a change, but it's not going to do any better for your prospect of like moving the offense. With all that being said, this feels like a really good spot for them, right? They get an extra couple of days of rest because they played on Black Friday last week. Even in that game with Boyle against the Dolphins, that pick six flipped everything. That Hail Mary pick six, which is so fluky, that kind of thing never happens. And we're fans of the Falcons. You and I locked in the Falcons in like some futures, in division winners. We were high on them beginning of the season. It's all about week to week in this, right? And this feels like a spot to play against them, but is it okay still at 2.5, or would you need the 3 to buy in?
No, I would still play it here at the 2.5. Smith as a favorite, 33% ATS. Ritter, 29% ATS as a favorite. I feel this is a good fade spot as the Bucks are on deck for the Falcons. Jets are 4 DVOA. This will be the best defense Ritter has faced. Last time he faced a top 10 defense per DVOA, only had 7 points, finished 19 of 31, throwing for 191, having 2 INTs. With all that being said, I think the Jets will limit the Falcons' offense. The one way to exploit the Jets is on the run, but Smith, for whatever reason, is giving Cordell Patterson looks in the backfield. Those carries should be going to Robinson. Flip side, Falcons' defense can be moved on. They're bleeding production in the running game ever since Grady Jarrett wet down. So a huge Breece Holiday, I think, is in line here. Home dogs when the total is 35 or less, 54%. It was just Jets play the Dolphins tight. It was weird with that pick six Hail Mary. I think the Jets are going to be able to move the ball. And also another way to look at it, the Jets just played Josh Allen and Tua. Now you're playing Desmond Ritter. This is a huge drop off in quality of quarterback that you're playing against. I like the Jets here at anything plus points.
Yeah, they played a couple games against Josh Allen this year. They played Mahomes, Tua, some very, very good quarterbacks. And now, like you said, they're playing someone, Ritter, who even when they win, still turns the ball over. You have questions about some of the decision-making here and there. Let's move to a massive game for playoff implications. How about this? The Denver Broncos at the Houston Texans, and the Texans are a 3-point favorite in this game, over under 47. Texans got outplayed a lot of their game last week, but still had a chance to win it. Missed a 58-yard field goal to tie the game. It doinked right off the crossbar. They're feisty, though. They're a well-coached team. They are showing you things on offense and on defense. Everyone keeps talking about Stroud. I just think overall, I'm very impressed with their coaching, their preparation on both sides of the ball. And I think the same can really be said for Denver, right? Everybody wrote them off after that 70-point game where they gave up 70 to the Dolphins. They got beat by 50. And since then, They've allowed fewer touchdowns in their last 6 games combined than they did in the one game to Miami. That one game, they allowed more touchdowns than the last 6. They actually have 15 takeaways over their last 4 games. They kept the Browns to just 162 yards passing on 42 attempts. They forced them to settle for field goals on 2 red zone trips. They generated 45 yards rushing over expectations on designed runs, which was their most in a game since week 4 of 2021. And they've allowed 20 fewer points in their last 6 games compared to their first 5 games. 20 fewer points per game. They were allowing 36.2 points per game. Recently, they're down in like the 16-ish points per game. This has been a massive turnaround. And yes, they've gotten some of the turnovers and the takeaways, which aren't things that you can get every game. But the template for this team is there, Eric, why they're winning games. They are making less mistakes. They are taking advantage of their opponent's mistakes. Sean Payton is putting them in places to succeed, especially early in the game and like on first down. He's doing a really good job of like calling and creating some very good plays for Russell Wilson to take the pressure off of him. They run the ball well, and they've got a couple playmakers out there too, like Sutton and Wilson seem to have something going on. So, you know what? Like I've been pretty impressed with what I've seen from the Broncos, and honestly, both of these teams have to feel really good about where they are right now at this point of the year.
Yeah, important to note here, Stroud is 0-4 in his career, small sample size, as a favorite. Wilson 67% against the number, 8-4 at the Broncos. Texans are 26 DVOA defending the pass, so I think Wilson's going to be able to throw it. I think this is going to be a huge Cortland Sutton game. Broncos defense, ever since losing 70-20, they're giving up 19.8 points. Last 5 games, their winning streak 16 points. This is the trend that sticks out to me, though. Teams that are a dog on a 5-game winning streak, 55% against the number. Road dog, 57%. I feel that anything over 3, there was a 3.5. I didn't jump on the 3.5. I'm kind of kicking myself that I didn't. But anytime there is a 3.5, I feel if the 3.5 gets back in the market, the value is on the Broncos. So I'll kind of wait, see if I can get a 3.5, or now I'll just sit this one
out. Does our Texans' future have legs? You think they will get in?
Yeah.
I do. Yeah, I do too. I do. I think they're in good shape. And what I think for some of us, we have like, they already hit their first win total. And now I've got 3 more adjusted on them coming up. If they can, every game they win moving forward, I hit another total for them. I think we got small division ones on them too, which probably aren't going to hit now. I've also got it to make the playoffs. So yeah, we were heavy on Texans and Falcons. I think we're the 2 that I was the heaviest on with futures early on in the year. And I know you were on the same way there. So yeah, let's go Texans. Bigger question, do we hedge or let it ride? I know you and I kind of differ on this a little bit. And I think it's maybe because I come from a little more of a horse racing background. Like for me in horse racing, I never hedge, ever. It's a little bit harder when you're like alive in a pick 4 or a pick 5 or something, and you've got maybe 3 horses, because then you got to bet the other 5 or 6 in the race. And then you got to start spending like a lot of money and doing the math in your head. And I start worrying about like, if I'm playing every day, I want to hit as big as possible. So I don't want to eliminate some of my big scores. But on your end, sometimes you kind of look at it like you always like being able to lock in a profit.
Yeah, I like to lock in the profit. So I don't know if I would, if it gets to the last game of the season, I would do that.
Okay, and this one was asking about the Longhorns future that Eric gave on the Big Ten preview for the college football, not the Texans. Okay.
Yeah, I think the Texans are in. I think Texas is in. I mean, yeah. I think the main thing that people need to remember when they're doing all this, at the end of the day, money makes the world go round. And you have a team in Texas that has never been in this Final Four thing. And there's a lot of oil money, a lot of old money. I mean, Texas is definitely getting in.
The round robin will come at the end. Sports facts. Let's go to your Lions next. Lions 4.5-point favorite on the road playing the Saints. Coming off that disappointing game on Thanksgiving. They do have a couple extra days of rest here. What just concerned me so much was how much pressure they were able to allow. A couple missing pieces on the offensive line that day. They looked sloppy. For Goff, first 9 games, he had 5 turnovers. Last 2 games, 6 turnovers. They were only 1 of 5 on 4th down. The fake punt on their own 23, which was not smart to do. This one feels to me like a stay away. Like I wanted to get there with the Saints, but I keep watching them. They've scored 3 touchdowns on their last 32 possessions, and those came twice from Jameis and once from Taysom Hill. They had no touchdowns in 5 red zone trips last week. They turned the ball over twice inside their own 10-yard line. I just can't get there with the Saints, even though I want to in the spot. So I'll root for your Lions here, Eric, and hope they can bounce back. Do you have a play in this one?
Since week 7, Lions per EPA have the worst defense in the NFL. Last 3 games, they're bleeding points, 34 points. They have some O-line issues, which is worrisome because the Saints defense up front's been putrid and you can't run on them. But without Jonah Jackson there on the left side to help Decker with the run blocking, they've really struggled moving the ball. Saints have insane wide receiver injuries. Chris Olave's had 3 concussions. It is criminal if the Saints medical staff allows him to play. Carr can't really throw the ball down the field. I have no idea what team is going to show up on either side. I'm completely just sitting this one out.
Stay away for both of us. Not the next game, though. I played this one on the money line. I locked in the Titans minus the 104. It's at minus 105 right now. Titans are home playing the Colts. It's a basic pick 'em here. Actually, the Colts have been slightly favored for a lot of the week. And that's one of those situations where you look at and you say, Gardner Minshew, without Taylor, favored on the road here against the Titans team that is undefeated in their 4 home games in their home stadium. All of their losses have come outside their home stadium. They averaged 24.7 points per game at home, 11 points outside of the home stadium. They were up 17-3 last week. Then they just coasted in the second half. Defensively, they did not allow Carolina to cross midfield on their final 4 possessions. And I look at a Colts team who struggled last week on 3rd down. They're going to be without one of their better players here. And now they're going to play on the road in a tough environment against the team that's excellent in this spot. This is a Vrabel spot as a dog. This is a Titan spot as a home dog. I'm on this one, Eric, as we check in with our buddy, XFL Jim, who's currently taking an LS right now with a strong LS, and he's really thinking about the Chargers in his time of need. Great to hear from our buddy, XFL Jim.
He's on a little vacation in Arizona right now, so I don't know if he can handle that
AZ.
That Southwest
cooking, right? Yeah.
Southwest heat.
Little Tex-Mex too. Yeah, some of the food running right through him. Jimbo, nice to hear from you, buddy. Eric, Colts, Titans. I know you've got some good Vrabel numbers on this one, right?
First of all, Minshew in his career, 48% against the number. Vrabel as a dog, 57%. Home dog, 63.2. Do we really trust Minshew to win on the road? Colts DBs have some issues. You can definitely throw the ball to the outside of them. Probably a big Hopkins game. Levis has looked better. And so this is my thing. What's going to be the big game that everyone goes to today in their millionaire makers? Excuse me. And, their cash game DFS lineup. It's going to be the 49ers, Eagles, probably a lot of Dolphins too. Both these 2 secondaries bleed production. So an easy way to do it here is just take Downs or take Pittman for the Colts, put them in your DFS lineup. And then for the Titans, put in DeAndre Hopkins. I think that's the best way to do it here. Look, I got the Titans here at +2 at this number. I just played the money line.
Okay, Eric, we go next to Jimbo, the Chargers, and I'm on the Patriots, Jim. He says, am I thinking about taking the Chargers in my time of need? Jim, if you are, we'll be on opposite sides today, mainly because I locked in the Patriots at +6 a little earlier. It's down to 5. I just cannot trust this Chargers team, Eric, in a spot like this on the road, trying to cover with margin. It's going to be Bailey Zappi and Cunningham today. Mac Jones is benched. So as Scheffner points out, Lawrence and Fields are the only 2 quarterbacks from the 5 that were picked in the first round of 2021 to keep their starting job so far. Bailey Zappi, baby. We're on the Zappy train right here today, Eric. This Chargers team continues to make mistake after mistake. Their defense is absolutely miserable. I think the Patriots will be able to run the ball in here. Last week, the Chargers score on their opening possession. Then the next 7 possessions, 6 of those drives go 20 yards or less. And they had 4 turnovers, an Allen fumble, an Eckler fumble, Herbert turnovers. And even when they get the ball back late in the game, I never feel like they're going to drive down and score. You always just feel like something's going to happen. I played him at +6. I would still be fine at like 4 or over, locking in the Patriots here. I just feel like the Patriots are at their lowest value of the season right now. They have not looked good. They lost back-to-back games scoring 10 or fewer points. That is so fluky to do, Eric. But what that does show me is their defense is still solid, that they allowed 10 points in back-to-back games, but they lost in both of them. The rest of the league is 48-0 this year when allowing 10 points or less, and the Patriots are 1-2. Those are the kind of things that's like, they've had some bad bounces this year. Do I think they're a good team? No, but we can look at maybe 4 of their games that very easily could have flipped the other way. They played Miami earlier in the season. They could have won that game. The Eagles game, they were right in. They had a 35-yard field goal to tie the game, and they missed it because Tommy DeVito and his family called it in to make sure that they were going to miss it from the Patriots. So, that's what's going to happen here. Let's go Patriots. Talk to us about why you're on this side, Eric.
For me, I just did a player prop in this one. I did Stevenson over the 20.5 receiving yards. Chargers give up the 4th most receiving yards per game to opposing running backs, 49.18. Stevenson, 3rd on the team in targets, 4th on yards. He's gone over this 5 times this season, this total. With the appearances with Zappy last year, he averaged 5 targets per game, 5 receptions per game, and 27.75 yards per game last year with Zappy. I think this is going to be a huge Stevenson game. I think you need to use Stevenson in every single one of your DFS lineups, and I'm just going to ride him, and I'm going to play these props.
Keep rolling along, Eric. Clear hearts and clear minds from Jim. He's staying away from the Chargers now. Clear eyes. Go Texas forever, Jimbo. Let's go to Miami at Washington. This was another play that I locked in. I played the Commanders, and this number has moved. So right now I already feel better, Eric, about the closing line value or close to it because I played this at 9.5. It's now Miami -8.5. I just cannot get to playing Miami as a big favorite in spots like this, especially on the road. Miami is not a good team on 3rd down. They were a little bit better last week. And with turnovers, they rank 24th in the league. They average 1.7 giveaways per game. They've turned the ball over 2+ times this year in games against the Giants, the Chargers, the Bills, and the Patriots. Big turnover in the game against the Chiefs. That was the reason why they lost that game. So what does that tell me? This team needing to cover with margin. They're not perfect. They're a little sloppy with 3rd down. They turn the ball over, and they're going to be without Phillips, who's now out with an ACL injury. He was their co-leader in sacks. So I look at just a few things, Eric, from the Miami side and being on the road, and I say, okay, that might be a lot for them to have to cover more than a touchdown. And then I look at Washington, and they're not a fantastic team, but offensively, they're actually competent. Sam Howell leads the league in passing yards. They can move the ball with Bieniemy. You keep pointing out, like, we're seeing the Bieniemy missing from the Chiefs issues, right? Because they're not the same type of offense. He's come over here and helped Washington move the ball, but they're not necessarily quite ready yet to be a top-tier contender. I think they're ready, though, to keep this game within double digits, and that's really all we need if you backed the Commanders at like +9.5 here. Talk to us about the Dolphins in Washington.
Weather. When you and I talked earlier in the week on your podcast, it looked like a 40% chance of weather. This is bumped up to a 50% chance. What the wet field's going to do is it's going to neglect the speed that the Dolphins have and really help the Commanders. Here's some interesting trends. Teams that won by 17 playing a team that lost by 17. The team that lost by 17 the previous week is 60% against the number. Teams that lost by 35% or more The previous week, the current week we are in, are 63.2%. As a dog, that number is 67.4%. Home dog, 67%. Teams laying 9 or more on the road since 2005. I know this number's dipped down, but you can still get over 9 at some shops. 42% against the number. When you look at Tua's road and home splits, he struggles a lot on the road. He's not putting up the same production. Worse completion percentage, less TDs, more INTs, more turnovers. Howell is a mobile quarterback. The Fangio defense in its entirety, when he's been calling plays, do struggle against mobile quarterbacks. I like the Commanders here. I got it at 10. Anything over that, I like.
Oh, look who's joining us this morning. Ow! It's the Wolf of Oaklawn. Chase says, shout out to Uncle Rico and Gino, the co-goats. Couple of goats over here. Eric, have you seen, when you start talking about 17 and all the different 17s, have you ever seen the number 23 with Jim Carrey? That movie? That's what I started thinking about. I feel like I've got you up all night and you're on this rabbit hole of the computer going through all these different things of the number 17 and how 17 and all these different games. That's basically like what I'm feeling when I hear you get into 17, because
there's 3 teams that fit into that category.
Yep, this week.
One already went. Seahawks covered on Thursday.
They already did.
The Seahawks, the Commanders, and the Browns.
Boom.
So, dude, we just need 2 out of 3 to cover.
Number 17 here. What's the horse bet I need to play today? Was asking Chase. For anyone that's interested, there's an early pick 5 carryover at Woodbine that starts at around 10:40. And it's like a $60,000 carryover, and they already have a $100,000 guaranteed pool. It starts in race 2. And what's nice, that's one of the places you can play for like 20 cents. So maybe, you haven't even looked at it yet. I'm going to do a video as soon as we're done. I'm going to record and go through the races, and you still have a couple hours, and you can play 10:40 Eastern time. So, and you can play for 20 cents. So you can play like a much, much cheaper race there. Chase is looking at the Aqueduct Stallion Series races, 7 and 8, Bustin Bay or Bank on Anna to beat the even money Morning Matcha. So a little extra horse racing action for some of you out there, because we're all looking for some Sunday action here as we get ready for the Panthers at the Bucks. Eric, fired coach bump, right? And again, what's nice about when we have shows, you have your show on Tuesday where you react to everything that happened the prior week. Then on Wednesday night, we record for my show. Then on Friday night, we record for the winning ticket. So by the time we get to Sunday, we've already been talking about these games, looking about these games 3 or 4 different times. And this line moved a few points.
Yeah. Well, that's because, when you look at it, they have nobody.
Tampa's really banged up. They're decimated by injuries right now.
In it. So I have 2 bets in this game. Look, I got this 5.5. I still like it at 3.5. Obviously get the bump with no Bulls, with no right there. We saw what happened last year. Saturday came down, no coaching experience in his life, and the team performed better than him last year with the Colts than they did with Wright. Bulls is a favorite, 47% ATS. Mayfield is a favorite, 35.1% ATS. Here are the PFF grades of the secondary dudes that the Bucks are rolling out. 110 out of 120, 89 out of 120, 100 out of 120. Yes, I know Winfield is PFF graded 3 out of 88 safeties, but their other safety, Neal, is PFF graded 85 out of 88. This secondary is extremely banged up. This isn't going to allow Young to get some rhythm, throw the ball. The one thing that Brown did was he used more motion, which is going to make reads easier for Young. Since 2005, road divisional dogs, 649, 561, and 35 against the spread. Last 5 years, 57% against the number. I like the spot. I like the trend, so I went with the Panthers plus the points. I got a 5.5. Anything over 3, I like.
That's what I was going to say, because we both had 5.5 earlier in the week. I'm still fine at 3.5 and above.
And then the player prop I did was Jonathan Mingo over the I got at 25.5. Look, he got more targets as soon as Brown took over calling the plays. second in targets, second in yards, and the Bucks give up the second most receiving yards to opposing wide receivers. I think this is a great matchup for Mingo. So I'm in on Mingo over the 25.5 yards receiving.
Let's get to the game that I will be at live today. The Rammies are a 3.5-point favorite against the Browns, and this number has actually moved a little bit in the Browns' direction. The Rams were favored by like 5.5 a few days ago. A lot of injuries here for the Browns too, though, right? It does look like Garrett's going to give it a go. Is that correct?
Yep.
Now, this is one of two things, right? Just him being on the field, like, I don't know how impactful he's going to be. Like, he might be super hurt. Just him being on the field will help as a decoy, take some attention away from, for the Rams offensive line and focus it on him. But the key is we'll find out through a quarter or maybe two at the most. If he's not impactful, you start not paying as much attention to him, right? So he's got to be able to make a play or two in there to still lure the Rams' focus away. I think we kind of saw that with Crosby last week where he was really banged up. He was doubtful. He gave it a go. He had a sack in the game, but other than that, he wasn't really able to do a whole lot. He was just trying to give the team a boost. And this team will get a real boost from Garrett being out there. Is this a Flacco game? We're talking about Joey?
Jersey Joe's playing.
Footsteps Falco, baby. Shane Footsteps Falco. Man, that orange, was it the Sugar Bowl? That Sugar Bowl at Ohio State. He had a real bad one. Love Me the Replacements. Fantastic football movie. But Eric, I'm going to the game. I'm a Rams fan. I'll be rocking my brand new Rams hoodie that I went and purchased yesterday. So I have a nice blue, beautiful Rams hoodie to wear. I just don't think this is a great spot to play the Rams to cover as more than a field goal. Gruff. He's wiry out there. He's wiry. You got to say it like this, though, Chase. He's wiry. That's shout out to my buddy, Ryan Tucker. He is actually a pro baseball player. He was a pitcher. He was like my best buddy growing up. And when that movie came out, we would watch it. It would stop and we would like start it over again. We just loved that. Was one of the ones we would have on over and over and over again. Eric, though, let's get back to Browns and Rammies. I mean, to me, at over a field goal, with this Browns defense still being good, with the Rams not being a team that's going to overwhelm you offensively or defensively, I just feel like at a field goal or more, got to be on the Browns side.
This is another team fits that 17-point trend that I mentioned earlier. Teams losing by 17, playing a team that won by 17, 60% against a number. Browns fall into that trend. The reason why Garrett is so valuable is Stafford's numbers really do drop when he faces pressure. I think Garrett is healthy. I think he's going to play. Him and Smith are going to be able to get to Stafford, make him uncomfortable. Rams are 26 DVOA, so Hunt and Ford are going to be in line for some huge games. I'm a little disappointed. I was going to be looking at some Cedric Tillman props if DTR was playing. Obviously, I'll have to wait on those a little bit more. Stefanski 5-0 ATS road dog versus the NFC. 7-0 ATS dog versus NFC. Overall against the NFC, he is 13-4 ATS. That's because the run scheme that he runs, no one in the NFC runs. So they're not used to it until they really get there to see it. Kupp isn't 100%. I just think this is a great spot to play the Browns. I think they're going to lean on that run game.
Yeah, 2 Coops, 1 Kupp, has not had either more than 48 yards receiving or 4 catches in a game since week 6. He's been struggling a little bit there. I mean, I like obviously what they did with the run game last week, and they'll try to lean on that. But just from a value-based standpoint and a number-based standpoint, this just feels too high at over a field goal for a team that has such a great defense. Now, there are versions of this game where the Cleveland Browns offense can't do anything.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's a possibility if it's Flacco or if it's Walker again. Like we could see this offense really struggle. And this is what I Hate the Lakers was asking. How does he get a run and Newton doesn't? It's so funny. Some of the guys that just continue to get their opportunities, like Cam wasn't fantastic the last time we saw him. He was serviceable in some spots. We never saw a guy like Kaepernick get another shot, really. Some guys, you just sort of wonder why they do. And then others, you got like, how is Tim Boyle? in the mix, or even like a guy like DeVito. Like, how are they in the mix and not some others? When it comes to like the backup quarterbacks, it's just so hit or miss, right? Because you just pick and bring those guys in that you want, right? Like off the scrap heap.
I mean, my 2 cents is I think Cam's great. I think Cam, for that run, that 5-year run he had, was insanely underrated. Put the Panthers on the map. Probably should have won at least one Super Bowl. But you bring him in there, and the whole questions are just going to be, when is he going to start? You know what I mean? So I figure he's going to be a distraction. With Flacco, you will not have that distraction.
And you kind of have to, I think for me at least, like with him, he's not as much of a system quarterback in that you do have to build a lot more around him when he's in there, right? You're going to add some things in for his strengths and weaknesses versus a guy like Flacco, who, like, Flacco is not anything to write home about, but he can run just like a professional NFL offense, right?
Yeah.
He can drop back, like make the right reads, go through his progressions. He's not going to take off and run here and there. Like, he's just going to do the things you want him to do versus Cam's got a higher ceiling, but a lower floor, I would say. Maybe.
Yeah, but
no, Flacco's floor is pretty low too, right? Like a bad Flacco game.
I think it's a 1-week thing. So hypothetically, you bring in Newton, you close game or you win the game, you bring in DTR, next week you struggle. Immediately, it's going to be like, when are you going back to camp? You know what I mean? If it's Flacco there, you're not going to do that with him because Flacco doesn't have the resume of Cam Newton.
It was funny. The guys on Pro Football Focus I was listening to the other day, and they were talking about, the one guy always says, like, what would be the funniest thing possible that could happen? He's like, if Joe Flacco is playing playoff games for this team, which would be hilarious, right? Because the Browns only got to win a couple more games to get themselves into the playoffs. And then you get there and it's like, who's your best chance to start? He was going through like old box scores of games that like Steelers won where they had really bad quarterbacks and just won on a complete defense. I think it would be really funny to see Flacco playing some meaningful games this year down the stretch against some other good defenses. But we're both on the Browns side here in that Rammies game. Let's go to the 49ers and the Eagles. Just a massive, massive game here. And it is crazy to see an Eagles team as a 3-point underdog at home. Now, they, by a lot of metrics, should have lost maybe 3 more games so far this season. And the 49ers are completely healthy. When they've been healthy, they look fantastic. Purdy has actually been really good at improving and making plays, throwing the ball down the field quite a bit. And for the Eagles, they are a little banged up coming into this. They've played a brutal stretch of games in a row. They've got Dallas next week. So they're still in the middle of this crazy hard stretch. San Francisco got a couple extra days off in playing on Thanksgiving. Philly and their defense had to play an overtime game, and I think we're on the field for 90 plays. Like 94. Every single thing about me and the spot would want to say San Francisco. The only thing that's so weird about this is just seeing Philly as a team with 1 loss, and over the last 2 years, they have been, for 31 straight weeks, they've had the best record in the league, and they're a 3-point dog at home. That just almost feels like something you wouldn't see unless there was Jalen Hurts being out. It is pretty crazy to see that, but it makes, in how you talk it out, it makes sense. When I'm doing this though, Eric, I like stay away. I would not be shocked if the 49ers win this game double digits based on the spot, but the Eagles have been this team all year that's just figuring things out, finding ways to win in games when it's been ugly, coming back from double digits. That stuff is kind of fluky. It doesn't sustain, but I'm doing the dance here. I'm just going to stay away from this one and watch.
I am almost to the point where I'm going to play the Eagles. This number opened up at 49.
I'm close. Do we know about Johnson?
We have no idea. It's a game time decision.
Okay. Because that's a big key, right? Lane Johnson for the Eagles, because that helps them run the ball, calms them down a little bit. We see a noticeable difference in their offense when he's out there and when he's not.
Eagles struggle against the tight end in the slot. That's Debo and Kittle. Also, Bradbury and Slade bleed production. That's Ayuk. I think if I was going to do anything in this game, I would actually probably do the over because I think there's going to be a ton of points scored. I think the 49ers are going to be able to stop the Eagles' run game, and I don't think the Eagles are going to be able to stop the 49ers pass game. To me, this is just going to come down to whoever has the ball last. I think you get plus money on both teams live betting.
Yep. Not laying it with the 49ers. Maybe we can get there with the Eagles, especially at the 3 and over. 2 more games to discuss. Let's go Chiefs and Packers Sunday night football. Bowl games will be coming out today, right, Eric? So probably in the next few hours, we'll get those all announced, and we'll be excited to cover some of these games. I know Eric and I'm sure Jim and Chase are really pumped as guys who really were covering college football on the week-to-week and the game-to-game. We go to the Chiefs at the Packers. This one's been in like the 6.5-ish range. I was lucky enough to get it when it was 6.5. I played the Packers plus the 6.5 here in a really nice spot at home. Shout out to Chad Coop. I know he joined you this week on your show, Eric, to talk some CM Punk. He was a big fan of the Packers in this spot as well, with Jordan Love playing much better. You've got a Chiefs team who's offensively not been as fantastic. They've been better defensively. Now they've got to go on the road here and play a Packers team that's young, that's figuring things out, that's improving quite a bit at this point of the season. Just feels like a great spot here to play a Packers team that, could be, even if you're down double digits, you could be in line for a backdoor cover here. And I think they could win this game straight up at plus 215. I would sprinkle a little on the money line, and I've got the Packers at plus the 6.5.
Yeah, I got this off openers at plus 7. Anything over the 6, I like. Something isn't right with the Chiefs offensively. They're obviously missing Bieniemy. Just kind of looking at Mahomes, 3.5 favorite or more, 46% against the number. Road favorite, 3.5 or more, 45. Favorite of 6.5 or more. Some books still have the 6.5. He is 41%. Non-conference dogs getting 6.5 or more on Sunday Night Football, 60% ATS. I just think also it's a good spot to fade the Chiefs here as they have the Bills on deck, just beat a divisional rival. I like the Packers here, anything over the 6.
And we finish up with Monday Night Football, Jags and the Bengals. The Jags are a big favorite in this game here. It's all the way up to 10 now. Was that the number that we said we could buy in on the Bengals, Eric, when it gets to double digits?
Yeah, it gets to 10.
Yeah.
But DRF isn't legal in Illinois, so I'm going to.
There we go. Yeah, so there we go. So you're waiting because we don't have many other options for lines if you're in Illinois, maybe with a 10. But if you are in Iowa and you want to jump in on this 10 with fast 300, the Bengals just can't really move the ball down the field right now with Browning, but they should have Higgins and some of their weapons back for this game. That'll help them a little bit. And Jacksonville is fine. They shouldn't really be a double-digit favorite like this against many teams, though, because they haven't looked fluid offensively. And they're going to be without offensive tackle Cam Robinson for a few weeks. That could hurt them. Their running game really struggled. I think Etienne's, some of the bumps and the bruises are starting to wear on him a little bit. So I would not be laying this with Jacksonville. Maybe come Monday night, if it's still around 10 or got up to 10.5, I could jump in on this.
Yeah, I mean, if it gets to 10 at a place I can bet at, I'll be in on it off of principle here. This is the biggest number that Lawrence has ever faced since 2005. Home favorites are 46% against the number, laying 7.5 or more. Monday Night Football, 7.5. Lawrence, 25% as a home favorite. Just a lot of points. T. Higgins is coming back, which is going to help because Bowling likes to throw across the middle. I'm taking the Jags in Survivor, and I'll just kind of probably not watch the game and kind of hope I can get on to another week.
Eric, let's dive on into your round robin. Talk to us about the round robin and who you're looking at today.
All right. So what I did for the round robin is I'm sorry, I got to pull it up.
No problem.
I did a touchdown round robin, and it is.
While Eric's pulling that up, remember to everyone, parlayplay.io. Use the promo code NFL Betting Blitz. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a direct link under the description. You can just click right on that link. It'll take you right there. They'll give you a match deposit bonus. What we like about this site, you can parlay props together. And what I particularly like, the options that you have, you can play like ranges. You can play, okay, over or under their rushing yards total, over or under their rushing attempts. There's rushing long. What will be the longest? You can, for like running backs, they'll give you rushing, receiving, rushing attempts, receiving. They'll give you tons, and then they'll give you fantasy points as an option too. You can also get a free play right off the bat. They have free games each and every week. Check out this website, parlayplay.io. Use the promo code NFL Betting Blitz. Okay, Eric, round robin time.
All right, so I did 2 little fun parlays. The first parlay is the round robin. It's a touchdown round robin. Pittman plus 185, Pickens plus 250, my boy Mingo plus 600, and Debo plus 185. Then I was messing around in another book. I found this parlay just very small because it's plus 13,200, so 13,200. Mingo over 65 yards receiving, Pickens over 95 yards receiving. So that's a huge payout. So, I got swing for the fences, my man.
Thanks for being flexible with me this morning, buddy. We went a little bit earlier just to give me a few extra minutes to get on over to that Rams game. So thanks so much, everyone, for hanging out with us. Appreciate all of you in the comments. Bobby Thomas, Chase the Wolf. Good luck to you today, Chase, in everything you're playing. Sports Facts, let's make some money. Bobby Thomas, smooth Bobby Thomas. Everyone out there, even you, I hate the Lakers. Yes, even you. I'm sure you loved seeing my Lakers get a nice W last night, finally looking a little bit healthy. I got to give it out to your clip. So they had a really nice comeback the other night. And Eric, just kind of a tangent. Did you see the 30-0 run last night from the Mavericks in that basketball game and they lost?
No, they lost that game.
They went on a 30-0 run and they ended up losing the game. Afterwards, they came all the way back. They took the lead and then it was like a horse that makes the big move and then they hang. They just couldn't seal the deal. The Thunder came all the way back in that game too. Man, Thunder are fun. They're a good basketball team, but I look forward to talking basketball with you, Eric, in the coming months as football winds down, but we still have a lot of really important NFL, and a little later on today, we're going to have some important college football games set up for us to talk about in the coming weeks. Good luck, everyone. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Eric, you have an awesome Sunday, buddy. Good luck in your plays, and I look forward to talking to you again real soon in the next couple days. Thanks, everyone, and good luck, Week 13.